evening, everybody, and welcome to New York. Tonight, we're hosting Met Gala Through the Ages. First up, we're going to talk to this young lady here. Hello, ma'am. Good evening. And who are you wearing tonight?
Oh, I'm wearing only the latest style from my mother, Cora. My mother and father saved up 10 months of wages to buy the fabric for this dress. Then, through illness, my mother sewed and sewed, gave me the dress upon my departure westward to meet with my family, to meet with my husband and his family, and build a farm. I'm so happy it made it through the trek, and I've been wearing it ever since.
It's very touching.
My mama's
So where were you originally from, ma'am?
Oh, Eastern Pennsylvania. I had such a grand time out with
That's good to hear. What are you most excited for tonight?
Oh, definitely most excited tonight for the first meal I haven't had to cook myself in 10 years. Back in Pennsylvania, when I used to cook with Mama, it was a lot more bearable. But these days, I barely get 3 hours of sleep because my child is always crying at night, and I have to cook
a real trial.
and bake
A very
and clean
difficult
and
trial.
farm
So,
and everything.
what do you think about the theme of tonight, women pushing for change?
Oh, that's definitely admirable that women in our country are trying to make other females have better lives, but I simply don't understand how they have time for that. I mean, I don't have time for anything.
And last, do you support women's suffrage?
I haven't the time to vote.
Well, thank you, ma'am, for sharing some of that valuable time with us this evening.
In the mid-1800s, many families were traveling westward in search of better opportunities. Women traditionally followed their husbands on this journey and were expected to produce children and care for the family. Beyond these responsibilities, wives also had to clean the house, maintain the garden, bake, cook, and manage any farm workers who were hired. Since wives and daughters were completely under the dominion of males, the clothing of the time reflects modesty. Females wore a floor-length dress and bonnet daily, as well as multiple undergarments. Since women only owned a few dresses, the apron was also a staple of the wardrobe.
Now, we're going to talk to this young lady. Hello, ma'am. So, who are you wearing this evening?
Alice Paul. It's only the latest in protest fashion. Notice I'm not wearing a corset. I made the sash myself. In fact, I'll be wearing this outfit when we picket the White House next weekend.
And where are you originally from, ma'am?
I'm originally from New York City, but I just recently moved to D.C.
And what are you most excited for this evening?
I'm most excited to advocate for the right to vote. I mean, we're in front of all these cameras, the world will be watching, and maybe men will finally listen.
So, what do you think of tonight's theme, women pushing for change?
I think it's incredibly important. Women won't get anywhere unless we push for change, such as pushing for the right to vote, because if we can vote, we can make our lives better.
So, do you support women's suffrage?
What do you think?
Thank you for your time, ma'am.
The women's suffrage movement officially began with the Seneca Falls Convention of 1848 and continued until the ratification of the 19th Amendment in 1920. The movement, headed over its 72 years by women such as Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Alice Paul, was about gaining the right to vote as well as the right to own property despite marriage and a legal claim to money women had earned. Fashion varied among suffragettes, as some believed fashion was an example of female oppression, while others believed it helped the cause. For all women, however, clothing was used to get a point across. For example, many wore white to represent the purity of their goals, and others abandoned the wearing of corsets.
So now we're going to move on to another guest of the night. Here. Hi, ma'am. Now, who are you wearing tonight?
Rosie the Riveter, known for World War II female factory uniforms. When my husband Ralph, bless his soul, left to join the war, I knew I just had to do something. So I joined the factory to help support those dear soldiers.
Oh, nice to hear. Nice to hear. Now, where are you from?
I'm from a little town on the outskirts of Chicago, but now I'm making it big in the city.
I can see that. Now, what are you most excited for tonight?
I'm excited to show people that we need to support our country in its time of need and to show that women can be just as important as men. We can do it.
How do you feel about the theme, women pushing for change?
I embody that theme. I show that women can push for change simply by getting a job.
I agree. Now, lastly, do you support women's suffrage?
Sweetheart, I already have the vote.
With the entry of the U.S. into World War II, many of the nation's able-bodied men enlisted to fight, creating a need for more factory workers. In order to encourage more women to enter the workforce, the government started a campaign centered around Rosie the Riveter, a female factory worker. Women worked in factories as well as military groups such as the Women's Army Corps or as nurses, albeit earning around half or less of what men earned. For safety reasons, clothing was less restrictive in these lines of work, and women began to wear simpler clothing or pants more often. This loosening of societal restrictions on their clothing parallels a loosening of restrictions on women's rights as they became workers and valued members of society.
Who are you wearing?
We wear all different types of clothing.
Where are you from?
We're from all different types of places.
And what are you most excited about tonight?
The cameras!
How do you feel about the theme, Women Pushing for Change?
We have to keep going no matter what.
We have to work as hard as we can, even when the world is against us.
Don't let the haters bring you down.
And do you support women's suffrage?
We have the vote.
Oh!